Hello, everyone. This is Matthew Brand. Welcome to Magnum episode 5. And there was an article published almost exactly a week ago of me posting this on Online Outside, this outdoorsman hiking kind of camping blog. And in this article, it was a response to other people's responses on why you should perhaps carry a gun on you while hiking. Well, Outside Online, this guy named Drew Pogg, at least, who's writing an article, writes all these reasons you should not carry a gun while hiking. And to be honest, I didn't agree with him, but I could maybe see his point if he was talking specifically about the Appalachian Trail, people who consistently hike on the Appalachian Trail. Now, he wasn't saying guns shouldn't be allowed or you don't need the Second Amendment. Sounded kind of like it, but I don't believe this is what he was saying. However, it did not really make coherent sense to me, even as a person, who I do go outdoors or whatever. I'm not the biggest fan of the wide open spaces. However, I can see the pros and cons, but his points don't make sense. For example, if you look at him saying, so I'm going to go through his points and kind of say why they didn't really make much sense to me. So, one, are we in danger? So that's the title of one of his points. And he states that there are almost no violent murders, and that was like the third murder since the year 2000. And people who are anti-gun try to bring stuff up like this all the time, but a lot of people don't realize that guns aren't just to stop murder, right? They're to stop maulings, they're to stop attacks, they're to stop assaults, rapes, all kinds of different things. Guns aren't simply for prevention of being murdered. Most states, even in Detroit, that has my hometown, which has one of the highest murder rates in the country, in many countries, as a city, it just simply is not that high of a likelihood. I walked around Detroit all the time. Walked around Detroit today. You're not always in fear of being murdered, but you might get robbed. You might get assaulted. Some people would rather you go through that whole process than defend yourself. And to me, that's a personal choice. You could get raped, and some people were like, well, that might be better than, having to take a life. In my opinion, it's not. But some people may differ. I think it should be everybody's personal choice. He does, of course, it's a small article. It doesn't have the time to go into stuff like that. But in my opinion, people do get hurt sometimes. And whether it be by an animal, right? You don't get always killed. But whether it be by animal or anything, he also says, bear attacks, like if there's a bear attack, these are calculated events and you can avoid it. Like, they're very avoidable. Yeah, I can see that. But still, to some people's comfort, it's not always a bear. There are other animals that can hurt you. They might feel better just having something on them. Some people carry Taurus judges, and their excuse for carrying around a several $100 gun is no other reason than using it for snakes. And that might be something they like. Now, here's the reason I say it might be a little more of a point if he was talking specifically about the Appalachian Trail instead of hiking in general the way he is. He keeps referencing the Appalachian Trail, but he's talking about hiking in general. However, the reason I can see the Appalachian Trail specifically is because there's different rules by state and law and whatever. It may be more difficult in one particular area. Like, let's say you're in California or New York and you're carrying a gun on you. It may be a lot more difficult for you to go hiking and enjoy yourself than it would be doing it in, say, Michigan or Florida or Vermont or something like that. Also, this is where he really gets me on the next part. So I understood the first part. So the next part, he says, why carrying a gun is unnecessary and dumb. This is what really irritates me. He says, first of all, you don't want to get it stolen. And I agree, you wouldn't want to get it stolen. But he's saying basically anything you do, you're at risk. You can't keep your gun on you. You'd have to leave it outside. Well, that's not true. He says because most states guns aren't allowed in bars. Also, Not always true. Some guns do allow, or some states do allow guns in bars. They just simply do. Sometimes you have to open carry. Sometimes you can just go get a beer or whatever and, put your gun away or lock it up or whatever the case may be in your backpack, and just keep your backpack on you. The deal is you don't always have to leave it outside. And then let's be honest, unless you're flashing it around and shoving it in someone's face, how do people even know you're carrying a gun? That's kind of the deal with the concealed carry. People aren't supposed to know you have a gun. So, yeah, there might be a time where you want to go get plastered, but that can be a personal decision you have to make. That's him personally. Some people just don't fucking drink. They just don't. They just don't effing drink. It's just the way it is. I can't tell you a time I've been drunk within years. If I've ever really been drunk, I'm sure I've gotten pretty tipsy before, but really drunk enough to not be able to drive or be about my senses or forget what happened the night before. I don't think I've ever been that drunk. Sick, I've been sick, but it doesn't take much to get me sick when it comes to alcohol because I don't drink like that. And there are a lot of people who don't drink like that. His other reason is, okay, well, what about people who like to pack a lot? Once again, depends on how far you're hiking, where you want to hike, what you're doing. There are different reasons people go hiking. Some people want to go from state to state. Some people don't have time for all that, and they just want to go and be in a peaceful outdoors for a while, go with some friends. Everybody's situation is tailored to themselves. And in my opinion, there are 3 types of advice when it comes to general stuff, right? You have what you do specifically and telling everybody your way is the best because you're you and you're obviously a genius. This is what it comes off as this guy is doing. Then you have going on statistics, right? Like what works best for most people. And you should just play with those odds. Sometimes that's sensible, especially when you don't have any idea on where to start or where to go. Going with the vast majority will sometimes work until you find out what's best for you. It's like going with statistics and stuff. It almost sounds like this is what he's doing, but really he's going on the third way, which is telling people to do exactly what you like to do. I say make an educated decision, right? Give everybody as much information as possible and let them choose to make the decision. Everybody is custom to themselves, right? Yes, some things are going to be more popular than others, right? Some people are going to drive a specific type of car. Some things are going to be in style just because they're popular. Some things are going to be in style just because they're functional, and cater to more people's everyday life. For example, gas saving, taking public transportation in some areas, right? Let's say if you made everybody take public transportation, well, every state doesn't have public transportation. Should they start moving towards that? Yeah, I think it would be a good idea, but you can't make that decision for everyone. Just because maybe the vast majority of people in the country live in states that have public transportation in some areas doesn't mean you have to expect that that's going to be the process for everybody. And same thing here. It does not help to push what you think, is important on everybody else just because it works for you or just because it works for the majority of people. This guy, he seems like he really doesn't like guns. He seems like he's okay with them. He'll hunt with them or something, but he just seems like he really dislikes guns for some reason. A lot of people have become a little chicken shit over guns lately. Because of all the media or whatever. And when there is an assault, people sometimes think, you know what, maybe I should think a little bit more about my safety. Most people's home won't get invaded while they're living in it. That doesn't mean you shouldn't have an escape plan. That doesn't mean you shouldn't have something worked out. Doesn't mean that things will work out the best way possible, exactly how you thought it would when the crap hits the fan. No. But having some plan is better than no plan. You might not, you might take a self-defense class in fighting. and or just some de-escalation techniques, or just to walk away. Does that mean stuff is going to happen the way you think it will when you use it, or the way you hope for it? No. But having an idea of what to do and what's going on and being familiar with it might make you calmer, might make you more reasonable, might make you think of an alternative with the skills you already have. And if you decide to carry a gun on you because you want to be safe, does that mean you're going to end up shooting it? Does that mean you'll even, that you're going to be John Wick and be able to put them down and with a, flying bullet or a pencil or whatever? No. But at least having something on you might make, it turns the things in your favor a little bit better. And it's just something to think about. You don't have to carry a gun on you. But if you're going hiking, especially if you're in a state that allows it for the most part, like I said, like Michigan, which isn't really mountainous, right? Michigan's pretty flat. But, or, Florida or Vermont or something like that. Vermont, I believe is, that anybody can carry a gun in Vermont. So, pretty much, don't take that as legal advice. But the idea in Vermont is very safe, right? And it's old. So the thing is, you cannot push what works for you on everybody. I wish people would just give the information, but to call people stupid, to insult their intelligence because they decided that they wanted to be a little bit safer, you're not going to pay their family if they get assaulted when a gun could have saved their life. I feel like he's being, playing the odds, right? That will almost never happen. And it's true. It might almost never happen. That doesn't mean other things won't happen, that you survive. So it's a lot. You'd be surprised what you can live through. Really, you would. So, people need to stop thinking that a gun is only to stop somebody else from shooting you or stabbing you to death. There are other things that can happen. And two, this guy, he's kind of an asshat. So that's all I had to say. Thanks for tuning in, and peace.